This is the Transparency Podcast Show.
Welcome to the Transparency Podcast Show. It is your girl, Blossom C. Brown, and I am here with the one, the only trans man who defeated and devoured Ben Shapiro, Shane Ivan Nash. What's going on?
And I have to give the introduction to the one and only Blossom C. Brown. Make sure to Google her. She has taken on how many people in this week? What is it? Ben Shapiro? No, not Ben Shapiro.
Oh,
I'm
no.
still excited about that. Listen, but you've taken on what? Michael Knowles first.
Destroyed him.
Then what was it? Piers Morgan.
Devoured.
And then Riley Gaines. You stood up to
Decimated.
Riley Gaines. To the girl that won 5th place and then decided to destroy America because she won 5th place and was a sore sportsmanship in that whole situation. Blossom, I got to tell you, the work that you are doing is impacting people in such a way on both sides, liberal, democratic, conservative, in the middle. How does it feel to have this moment and actually get to stand up for trans people with all of the rhetoric we're facing right now?
Yeah, it feels so good. I'm just like, wow, the Tommy Lauren reject.
Oh my God.
Riley. Honestly, it feels so good. Like, I feel like I'm having a moment, and this is important because under the Trump administration, we got to have moments like this. We need to be amplifying our voices and our platforms any way possible. And for me, just going and debating is something that I'm truly passionate about. I care about my community. I also care about the issues, and I love that I'm growing, I'm expanding. And, there are haters in the comment section right now because, hold on, Shane, hold on. You smell them? Smells like low self-esteem and baloney in the comment section. They down there like little roaches hating conservative haters and conservative trolls. Welcome to the Transparency Podcast Show. You see I'm here, don't you? I know you love it.
Blossom, I love your activism. I love how
Thank
you stand
you.
10 toes down, as we always love to say, in your work on how you see trans people and you actually show up for them. And you go into these spaces that, quite frankly, I mean, we've got people that got huge followings on the liberal side that are afraid to do what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel to be that person in this moment right now? Because so many trans people are getting hit day after day with this new legislation, with the passports, with everything that's going on. How does it feel to be doing what you're doing? Because I know it's a challenge too, because you've got critics, even within our own community, that have this idea of how activism works and this gatekeeping ideology. Meanwhile, nobody's doing anything to stand up to these bullies, and you are actually standing up to these people. So how does it feel to even do that? And what do you want to say to some of these people that have created this idea that there's only one way to do activism? Because clearly there's not.
Yeah, it's really challenging. I'll be honest with you, because I tend to be a struggling Black content creator, and that's not shocking. I only have 18,000 followers on Instagram, and my TikTok is this, and my other TikTok is that, but I make an impact.
You sure
and I want people to understand it does not matter about your social media following. Do not let these people tell you that you have to have a certain amount of followers to make an impact. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
I think we should be boisterous. I think that it's important that we make our voices heard. And, there are other trans people who have their platforms, and I don't always expect them to support me. I think that they're just trying to survive too.
Yeah.
I think we could always send the love and kindness across each platform, and be able to hold each other's hand and just support each other. But, because we're in a game of survival, that may not always happen. So I learned not to take that personal anymore. I just learned to kind of focus in my own lane, create my own lane, and drive my own car in my own lane. Because truth be told, when we look around to our left and right to see what everybody else is doing when we're driving, that's how we fall off. That's how we wreck. Yeah. That's how we drive off the road, because we weren't focused on our proposed purpose. And I feel like my purpose in this lifetime is to debate people like Piers Morgan and devour people like Riley Gaines and stump people like Michael Knowles, who in my opinion is just rehearsed, and he gives little dick energy. So with that being said, I mean,
as a trans man, nothing wrong with little dick, but you can be a dick about it. You know what I mean? Shout out to little dick energy.
Michael Knowles gives little dick energy. He's very rehearsed. And honestly,
I know what you mean about that. Ben Shapiro did that too. When we were on set, he kept going, "Hi, I'm Ben Shapiro." And I was like, God, this is like a B-list actor that can't even make it in an audition for a commercial. Didn't it kind of feel like it was a failed actor you were talking to?
Yeah, well, they're both failed actors.
Oh, wait,
Ben
Michael
Shapiro
Knowles
and Michael Knowles. Yeah, he played a gay character in college. Like, it
Oh
was a
my God,
whole
I thought
thing.
that was a rumor. So the photo of him, that's real?
That's real.
Is that why he kept talking about the leather daddies thing? Because hold on, let me get into this.
And WeHo.
Because how does a man who is claiming to be as straight as an arrow and knows all the things he does, knows that much about Folsom Street, leather fairs, and stuff like that? Because listen, I used to work for a leather magazine called The Fight. Shout out to The Fight magazine. Shout out to
love
Mark.
The Fight.
So, shout out to Stanford. Yes, I gave you a shout out, so make sure to do another article on me, guys. I want to shout out the idea of how does this man know this much knowledge about the gay community, but yet he's allegedly straight? Because he knew more about leather than I do. And I worked at a leather magazine working Folsom Street Fair myself.
Yeah.
And it was like, leather daddies, leather daddies. And I know they cut some of the stuff from the episode because you guys were telling me.
And they cut a lot. There were trans people that didn't even get to speak.
Really?
Like, there were trans people who actually got up there and spoke.
Yeah.
And they actually cut their scenes out too. It was kind of wild and crazy. But I will say about that particular Surrounded episode, this was my 4th Jubilee video, but it was my first Surrounded episode. And the community I've built on that show with some of the other debaters has been so beautiful.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from them. Like, we have like a little group chat going, but I've learned so much from them. And we all try to support each other. We may not always agree with some things with each other, but it feels like a beautiful community. And I'm so grateful to be attracting my tribe, my debate tribe. And so, lately I've been getting a lot of criticism about why do I go on these Jubilee videos, right?
Oh, yeah. There's a whole thing on TikTok where everybody's saying, don't go on it, don't feed them. What do you say to that?
Yeah, and there's a lot of trans conservatives who don't know what the hell they're talking about, but they sure do know how to post me and all of the things or whatever. And so I want to take the time to address that. For me, the reason why I go on Jubilee is because I always like to hear people's perspective that have a different point of view than me. Now, for me, I don't go in this wanting to change people's mind because I just can't. I like to see people's ways of thinking, people's patterns of thinking. And most likely, or most times, it's been like conservatives. So when I see conservatives' way of thinking, it helps me build a better defense in my talking points.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to go on these more conservative platforms, because these liberal platforms are not platforming me enough. I've always said when it comes to trans liberals, we are not supported enough by the Liberal Party. No. That's why people like Blair White, Buck Angel, and other trans conservatives are able to be supported in the conservative platform. Yeah. And I can't even really be mad at that, to be quite honest, because conservatives just tend to support their own. But there is a lack with Democrats and liberals when it comes to trans liberals like you and I. So that's just something that just needs to be addressed separately. But I go on there just for that. I love helping building my brand. I love doing that. There was a video recently that circulated that my good sister, Hope Giselle, who I love so much, who is a fierce Black trans activist, actually tagged me in, and she actually gave me a shout out in the video. And so the video contained Francesca Ramsey, who is like this Black trans
The leopards
YouTuber.
eating, if you heard that song on TikTok where it's like they're eating your face, that's what she's known for.
Okay, yeah. So I've seen her speak before. Now, she was criticizing Lex, who was the white cis woman that was in the Surrounded episode with me, because there was a conversation about Francesca saying, why are you going on there? Why are you supporting Nazis? I'm sorry, why are you not? Wait, what did she say? She was just
why
like,
are you platforming Nazis, I think was her.
Why are you platforming Nazis? Why didn't you just get up and go away when they were in the room? And I just want to clarify some things. First of all, when you're contractually bound, you just can't get up and go, number one. Number two, please know what you're talking about. I am not the biggest fan of Francesca Ramsey for so many reasons. And I was actually making a personal video on my IG about this. I think Francesca's content in the past looks down on other Black struggling content creators like myself. I think that she has this mentality where if you don't do it the way that I've done it and you don't build your platform the way that I've built my platform, because I've spent years of dedication into my platform, then it's just not worth looking at. And she has kind of relayed that message in some of her past content. I don't deal with that. I heard her speak at the Black Queer Summit. The Black Creative Summit about almost 2 years ago.
Oh,
and the thing is, she's a great speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And she, in that particular programming or whatnot, she gave some good advice about being a Black content creator. And I just think it's fascinating that she shits on other Black content creators and other people who use Jubilee in their creation when you're trying to speak light and positivity to other struggling content creators. It's like, girl, you're contradicting yourself. I don't know her personally. I don't know her heart. She may just not be like that. It could be a misunderstanding. And so I give free will and free space to that. But I just think that we need to understand what's really going on behind the scenes. I love in the video that Hope Giselle was just like, why don't we listen to the Black trans woman that was there?
Yeah.
For me, we were not fully aware of everything that was happening.
Oh, break this down, because everybody thinks that I was even prepared with the Ben Shapiro thing and don't realize that I walked into that set blind, not even knowing who was going to be on there until 2 minutes beforehand. Meanwhile, from my understanding, Ben Shapiro had the questions beforehand, and it sounds like Michael Knowles had the same question. Let's do the Michael Knowles clip real quick, if we can actually play that so folks can actually see it that haven't.
Transgenderism should be eradicated from public life entirely.
I want to know your ideology around transgenderism, something that doesn't exist. It just sounds more like conservative propaganda. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about what you're trying to communicate.
It leads to the depriving women of their legitimate rights. In some cases, it leads to rapes, notably in the last few years. And it also leads to women losing their sports competitions and their scholarships, and it's just disordered and false. And it also leads to more people adopting this identity, which leads to very high rates of anxiety, depression. And
when we talk about these cases of women in the restroom, they're coming from cis men like you. So let's and see, they hate when I say that. Also,
it's a fact.
Yeah,
it's not trans women; it's cisgendered men in this hypothetical theory.
White cis men
wear
that
a skirt.
He's in proximity to. Michael is in proximity to it because Michael
and it
is
sounds
Latino.
like he's very in proximity if he's going to Folsom Street fairs with leather daddies and things like that. It seems like he's very much in proximity to the idea that the way you dress and the way you identify is somehow going to put you in a position that is going to make men go into the restroom and somehow assault women, when meanwhile you've got men assaulting women in broad daylight. It's like they're so focused on trying to say that they're saving women or protecting women. Meanwhile, this same language has now caused, I don't know if you saw the stud that was in Arizona, Tucson, Arizona. This happened just a few days ago. 2 officers came into the bathroom for a biological woman who is a stud presenting, so people might see it and might see, oh, that's a guy going to the restroom. The police were called, and the only 2 men that were in that restroom that should have been arrested were those police officers, because now we've got like vagina police before we got GTA 6. Like, how in the hell have we gotten to the space where people like this, who have this ideology that there's only one way to live, one way to breathe? The thing about you and I is like, we just want to live the way we want to live. And I don't care how Michael Knowles lives. I just want him to stay out of my lane. Like you said, stay in your lane.
Yeah. Michael Knowles actually misgendered me in the video. Yeah. It was funny because I ended up being in his top 3 that he had to choose from debating. And his team went with one of the other people. And it was so funny because, in my opinion, Michael is very rehearsed. Yes. He didn't really have any good talking points. And I think conservatives just have such a low intellect, to be quite honest with you. That's why they're shouting and rooting for him. Michael really was saying a lot of things that made no sense. That's why I was just like, I don't even think you understand what you're saying.
You did.
Because you're so rehearsed.
Yeah.
But conservatives that support him are just stupid to me.
Yeah.
Because that's their mentality.
But even their side noticed this.
When the bar is so low,
yeah,
when it comes to mentality of some conservatives, 'cause I'm not going to put it on all conservatives,
true,
then what can we do?
No, but even on their side, they noticed in the comments of your video, they're like, wow, Michael Knowles did better than even Ben Shapiro did. And you and I know what that was about, because what happened with me and Ben Shapiro shook their sides. So when Michael Knowles showed up to your set, he was ready to attack everybody. He was so aggressive. So many people on that set actually reported that he was so rude and aggressive. And I truly think that Ben Shapiro episode shook their side, because they've never seen a trans person stand up for trans people. And that's another point that I kind of had an issue with Francesca, is because it's like, we as trans people hardly get the opportunity to stand up for ourselves and have that conversation. Like Hope said, we have so many cis people that want to get an award and celebrate and do all these things, taking the language that we built and biting on the back of that and then using that to become an advocate. Meanwhile, you and I are just left in the dust having to deal with this administration and all the effects of all of this rhetoric that's coming from the conservative side. And another thing is like Michael Knowles walked off that set going, haha, I just debated a whole bunch of people. Meanwhile, those 25, was it 25?
Yeah,
it was
or
like
20. Technically, I think it was 20.
So 20 activists, I almost can guarantee that all of them went with like some sort of pain they carried after being on that set because of how it was even set up.
Not all of them, because some of them were conservative, but that's a whole nother story.
Oh, really?
But
yeah.
Going back to Francesca right quick, she made this video about Lex.
Yeah.
Let me say this about
Who
Lex.
also has a trans partner as well.
She does have a trans partner, but here's the thing about Lex. Lex has been so protective of me as a Black trans woman. For her to be a white cis woman, Lex uses her privilege to help other disenfranchised people of color.
Yeah.
She may not always get it right because we all make mistakes, but she's willing to always admit her mistakes. And because Francesca is only looking at things from a biased, blind view, it's like you don't get that.
Yeah.
We always want our white folks to do better by us. Then when we get white folks like Lex and yourself who are using your access, who are using your privilege, who are speaking up for us when other folks don't want to hear us, we still find ways to shame them. And I'm not just, I'm not booty clapping to whiteness. I'm not, booty clapping is my word.
You love booty clapping
is my word. But I'm not.
It's the whole liberal ideology that it's like
and it's something you should be doing. Let me make that clear. I'm not giving props because this is something that you should be doing. But I'm just bringing a point. I'm trying to bring notice to a point. Like, you can't have it both ways. And I think you have to understand and realize that. I am not a fan of Francesca Ramsey. I think that she just looks down on other struggling content creators. And I'm sure if she saw this, she can react to it. I have no problem with having a conversation. She does hang around some of the other trans girls. But in my view, I think that these trans girls that she's around or these trans people have a certain aesthetic. They have millions of followers and they're not going to come to the struggle. She's not going to come to the girls like me who don't have such a massive following, but I am very impactful and be willing to have these conversations. She's going to look at this. She's going to make a clapback video. Her fans and followers are going to come shit on me. You know what I mean? It's going to be a whole thing and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
And so I just commend Hope Giselle, who is a powerful Black trans sister of mine. She's always doing the work. She's always making the content. She don't care what other people think. Hope Giselle makes it happen. And I love my sister for that because she sees me when others refuse to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see you too, Blossom. And I want you to know that your activism is part of a cumulative conversation of many activists coming together. There's no perfect way to do activism. And even myself at a younger age had kind of this idea of like, oh, they're doing it wrong or they're doing it wrong. And it's like, I've really learned that it's like, I'm going to stay in my lane and do what I feel is right as a trans person that is being put under a pressure cooker in this administration in so many ways. I mean, I'm waiting. I guess I just got a notification that I'm going to get my passport today to find out whether or not there's an M or an F on it. And it's like, suspense. I know, right? Stay tuned on other socials to find out what happens. Yeah. And it's like, we've got so much against us and everybody's so focused on being morally superiorly like this perfect activist. Meanwhile, there's no like real organization for the marginalized people that most of these perfect activists are throwing under the bus. Like I'm going to bring up one thing just because I see the bangs today is the Madeline Pendleton thing, which we also call her baby bangs. And you've made it to a podcast, girl. The conversation has made it to a podcast. I don't know if you know what went on with Cat Black and baby bangs, aka Madeline Pendleton.
We love Cat Black here, by the way.
Yes, we do. Madeline really created this whole situation on TikTok that kind of put trans people in this political climate of being sacrifices to her way of activism with no consideration of what it was doing to trans people, like giving us this ultimatum of like, either you support Gaza or you don't support Gaza. Meanwhile, there's so much more nuance to an election and politics and being a one issue voter and creating that did and has cost the lives of trans people. And Cat Black was trying to have that conversation, from my understanding, in a nuanced way so that we could move on and get better as a community, so that when the next election cycle comes around, we could actually adjust some of the mistakes that we've made with the community infighting that's gone on. It's like the Republicans, like, look at how problematic you've got all of these people that are on their side, and their side is just cheering for them, just cheering for them. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go and do to that level of anything, but it's like what Don Lemon is saying and what people are saying, which I feel like they're finally being inspired by some of the work we're even doing, because we're reaching platforms and hitting people now because of things like Jubilee. And people are starting to realize how our activism is important too. You've got Congress members that are sitting outside of the Department of Education, and there's one security guard there, and they're just going, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. There's nothing we can say. Meanwhile, you and I are actually going into these spaces out of our silos to have conversations with conservatives, and to every single conversation land perfectly? No. Sometimes we even get into them petty. Like when you were on the Piers Morgan situation, which I want to roll that clip in a minute, I have to tell you,
ooh, child,
I know that there's so many people that are going to look at that clip and go, Blossom, you did this, you did that, and do everything they can.
They keep saying I'm emotionally charged.
You know what? At the end of the day, you've got years.
I'm a double air sign.
You've got
emotionally detached people.
We've got 10 years of other activists that have been on huge platforms having conversations that were very like, let's reach across the aisle, let's shake hands, let's try this. I've got to tell you how refreshing and how many times I am cheering. And there's so many people that are cheering because finally somebody is standing up to these people in a way that they feel actually feel seen.
Yes.
Feel seen in a way that, like, I mean, we've got so many policies coming down, and the idea that this isn't a genocide on trans people. This is a genocide on trans people. If you look at everything and all the steps we're in it.
It's a domestic genocide.
It's a genocide on trans people. And you've got an administration that is actively pressuring us. I got to get to the Piers Morgan clip because it's just been the way that they even edited you. They did that on purpose. They did all of that little thing just so they could scoop that clip up and make their rage porn. But at the same time,
it didn't work.
Your face now is put in a position and now elevated so other people want to have conversation with you so that we can have these real conversations. Because I watched you just got into your petty mode because you knew what that was. Because when we had a conversation right before you went on, you were like, no, I'm really going to try to have a conversation. And what ended up happening is I saw it in your eyes. They went like, oh, this is what this is. And you just played their game. You did. You were going to.
I outplayed their game.
You
actually
did. So tell me, first of all, let's play the clip for Piers, because
here we go, y'all.
Booty clapping to Elon Musk and actually get something done in this country. And eradicating trans people is not going to be it.
We all felt betrayed. We all felt violated in the locker room.
Riley is just a tremendous athlete, and it was a very unfair situation.
And to have a president who is willing to listen to us, feel entirely vindicated.
There are only two genders, male and female.
Donald Trump is a complete moron. Trans people exist. There are more than two sexes.
Blossom, should we combine the Paralympics with the regular Olympics? Have them all compete with each other?
We talk about trans people. We're talking about gender identity. I need both of y'all mindset to become more expansive.
Right.
I know that's a little hard for
Can you
both
answer
of
my question?
I think what you're saying is conservative propaganda. I think what you're saying is, y'all.
Can you answer my question?
I mean, why not? And to go back to Riley's point to
why
that.
not?
Oh my gosh!
Damn, you got her frustrated.
It takes one to know one.
Why Donald Trump won.
For me, this is absolutely about the integrity.
It seems completely insane to me.
When it comes to the biology of sport, it is very, very clear cut.
Oh, okay.
Go for it, Blossom.
So
Tell them.
Here's the thing. So a couple of days ago, I got an email from Piers Morgan's team. They had been trying to hit me up on like social media or whatever. I thought it was fake. But then somebody at Jubilee reached out to me and was like, oh, they want you to be on his show.
Yeah.
And I had to contemplate, but I had a short turnaround and I decided to go on and do it. Now, when going to Piers Morgan's show, I already knew his past. He's deemed a racist. I think he's a fascist. He's very transphobic. He's very misogynistic. So I already understood this about him, right? I think it was important for me to get more exposure. I think this was an opportunity for me to strengthen my debate skills. And as you can see, I devoured Riley Gaines in this debate. And so the conservatives that are in the comment section now are mad like little roaches. Ooh. Because I devoured the Tommy Lauren reject. and you can stay mad at me. And so the thing was, so Piers Morgan started booty clapping for Riley Gaines, those flat flop cakes, trying to clap them old wrinkled cheeks, trying to clap for Riley Gaines. And the thing was, of course, the white girl, they're going to try to make her look good, look amplified. But Riley Gaines...
intro alone was so starkly different.
Yeah.
Let's be real from the jump.
But
Anybody that
ignorant.
didn't see that...
She's an ignorant girl. She's a dipstick, and in my view.
Yeah.
The thing about it was, Riley made her talking points, and at the beginning of the episode, he was talking about Cece Tolford. I've met Cece before through a mutual friend.
She even commented on your
wonderful.
post. Yeah, I saw
yeah. She's actually a wonderful person to meet in real life. But for some reason, she comes up a lot on these particular platforms because of the whole transgender woman in sports thing. And so, because I remember at one point, like they misgendered her or something like that. And I was just not with it. When I go to a set and we're talking about one of my trans siblings, I don't play that. My time is a business transaction. I do not play about stuff like that. You're not going to disrespect another trans woman to my face. I don't care how live on television it is. And, people want to try to deem me as a lunatic and want to see me as emotional or whatever. I don't conform to that ignorance. I'm going to take up space because as a Black trans woman, I deserve to take up space. And truth be told, a lot of y'all can't do what I do. Y'all don't go on Jubilee because y'all can't go on Jubilee. Yeah. Y'all don't have the power and the courage like you and I do.
It's not an easy thing to do.
It's not an easy thing to do. And going on Piers is another thing as well, too. I think they were not ready for me to come in with pure talking points, statistics that they could not rebuttal. Neither one of them could rebuttal my talking points. Piers was asking me a question that made no sense. He's a moron. And I knew he was trying to bait me.
Yeah, and you baited him.
And I baited him 10 times over.
With the Sharon Osbourne thing, I got to tell you, you had him on the ropes, and then he started getting flustered and angry and just going like, you know what, Blossom? I'm glad you mentioned. I was like, ooh, somebody's triggered.
Yeah, because the thing was, he was making racial insensitivity to Meghan Markle, and he was trying to...
And takes no responsibility on what he did to Sharon Osbourne. He truly blames it, from me watching it, as it was Cheryl Underwood's fault.
Yeah.
That through when
and by the way, they muted the part where because they were muting me when I was saying Sharon's white tears, because I actually did say that. He was trying to demonize Cheryl Underwood, but the reality of it is Sharon Osbourne was in the wrong, and I knew that this was your friend.
Yeah.
So I remember all this happening because when it originally happened about 2 years ago, when Sharon got fired from the talk, and there was like a whole lawsuit or whatever behind that, it became... That's when I really started noticing Piers. And so Piers was very disrespectful.
Yeah.
He kept trying to cut me off because he wanted Riley to look good, because they were not expecting me to come in with facts. They were not expecting me to come in and talk about lived experience. They were not coming in they were not expecting me to come in and take up space. They were not expecting me not to talk back and not to clap back. You got me totally confused. When I go on these platforms, I set an intention. You are going to hear me. And the reason why I kept talking over them is because I was showing up and making space for the voice of the Black trans woman, because he was trying to suppress the Black trans woman voice and try to amplify the white trans. The white cis girl's voice. And the thing is, again, Riley could not defend herself against my talking points. She competed against Leah Thomas, who is a trans woman who won in the swimming competition. And so the thing is, the point I was making about it on the show was, Leah also lost some games. So that means she lost to cis women swimmers. So that means that some cis
wasn't
women
it fifth place they were fighting over anyways?
Yeah, it
wasn't even
place.
First place. It was fifth place.
Yeah. So that means some cis women like Riley are stronger than trans women like Leah. And that's what I brought up in Pierce's show. Some cis women have natural faster agility. They have natural testosterone levels.
Yeah, or
than some trans
for
women.
20 years.
Yeah, and so genetics does play a part in that. But see, that conversation was too high vibrational for them. That's why Riley and Piers resorted to misgendering me.
Yeah.
Well, mostly Riley. But all I see with Riley is low self-esteem, low confidence, insecurity because a trans woman pretty much defeated her. And she thought that by going to Donald Trump and booty clapping those little cheeks for Donald Trump, that all of a sudden this exposure for her is just going to be so grand. And the conservatives, they love ditsies like that. Riley Gaines is a ditzy in my view. I devoured her. I destroyed her in the debate. It was pretty obvious. I came in with facts and girl, get over yourself. Stop looking like a Tommy Lauren reject.
Which
find your own style.
That she was on the other
business.
line. She was on the other line when you said that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I heard that Tommy Lauren was in the next segment. I didn't know. Because my friend Ernest Owens, I love so much. Ernest is such a powerful writer. Like his journalism is incredible, by the way. I love Ernest Owens. But Ernest was in that segment. And I saw Ernest had commented in my Facebook post about it. And it's so funny because when I was going to Piers, I thought about Ernest because I know Ernest has done episodes in the past.
Yeah.
And he'd always done a great job. I know Roland Martin, Mark Lamont, like all of them have been like the Black commentators that have been on there. And so I was just like, oh shit, I'm going to be like up there with them or whatever. And so it was crazy that he ended up being in the next segment. And he told me he actually saw all of what happened. He saw the entire thing when we originally filmed it.
I love that for you because there's no way Tommy Lauren isn't kind of like,
yeah. And I did not sign an NDA, by the way. They did not NDA me, so I have free.
And didn't they have like a news? Oh, that was one more thing that I wanted you to talk about because you told me because I was on the phone with her with like all of this was going down because at one point they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna send a news van down at this time, and then something happened where they're like, actually, and it was like 20 minutes before showtime. They're like, actually, can you do us a favor? Can you set up a whole Zoom setup when like. I usually help you with the Zoom stuff, so we didn't even have time to set anything up. And it felt like a sabotage on top of a sabotage on top of a sabotage. And even the way that he, just like if you watch the intro, this is telling right alone. And if nobody can see this, you are blind as day when it comes to looking at what the narrative that is being projected in these conservative areas and how they take trans people's narratives and twist them in media. Because right from the jump, it goes, the great Riley Gaines. And then meanwhile, it's like Blossom, this activist.
Yeah.
It's like.
It's to be expected from Piers. That's the thing, though.
It's like you can't even pretend to be neutral for 1 second.
Yeah. Because he's what he is.
But he portrays that to his audience that he is neutral. Meanwhile.
He's a racist and a fascist, in my view.
And he literally destroyed Sharon Osbourne's career and takes no responsibility for it. He actually is not.
And if they're still friends, that's weird to me. If they're still friends,
because he convinced her that everybody was against her instead of actually going, "Hey, you took a hit for being my friend. That I'm sorry that happened to you."
Yeah.
He had no responsibility for that. And Sharon, from what I learned in your episode, dealt with depression and all of these things. And he's sitting there talking like, "Yeah, she dealt with depression." Never making the connection that it was him that put her in that position in the first place because it wasn't even Sharon that they were confronting. They're going, hey, your friend's saying some racist stuff. What do you feel about it? And did she navigate it right? No, she didn't. She I watched the clip when they came back. She was like screaming at Cheryl Underwood.
And that's the thing. Nobody checked up on Cheryl Underwood because Cheryl Underwood was suffering the most. And that's what I was trying to bring up the point. Black women cannot be racist to white women. And Piers and Riley think otherwise. Those two morons have no idea what I was talking about because, again, you don't have the intellect to understand that Black people in this country could never be racist. Yeah. Black people can be prejudiced.
Thank you.
But we cannot be racist. And truth be told, Riley and Piers were mad because I was not going to bow down to them and because I'm not scared of them. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. And while you're on Fox News talking about me, make sure you take this clip and let them know. I said what I said. I meant what I said. I destroyed and devoured Riley Gaines in a debate. I destroyed Piers Morgan's whole ideology. I devoured him in a debate. I am a badass. And I'm the Black trans woman, the Black liberal trans woman that you would never forget. So when you go run your friends to talk about me, honey, just know I'm still fly. I'm a powerhouse. I even got Piers Morgan to admit that I was a powerhouse on television, on national television. Piers Morgan, you are now my son. And Riley Gaines, you my daughter. Piers Morgan, I got Piers Morgan to admit that I'm a powerhouse on national television. Trans people Trans struggling content creators, please don't be fooled. You don't need a certain amount of followers to make an impact. If I can make Piers Morgan my bitch and tell him and make him admit to me that that I'm a powerhouse, honey, you can do it too. If I can make that man admit to me that I'm a powerhouse and make him my bitch and my son, you can do it too.
You're an inspiration. We need this so much right now. We need this so much right now. Because again, to see Congress and Cory Booker throw his hands up in the air and say, I don't know what we want to do. Meanwhile, someone who doesn't have a following is going into these spaces in an attention economy and actually grabbing the attention for trans people so that we can have conversations, so people can get to know us, even if it is the full us. You represent you.
Yes.
I represent me. And this idea that we're going in and representing the whole trans community, listen, we've had people.
We don't speak for speak for everybody.
No.
We are a representation from the community, because Piers and them were talking about, oh, you're a bad representation for your community. I only speak for myself.
Yeah.
I don't speak for other trans people in the community, because they should have their own voices to speak. Why don't you give them a platform? I also named trans athletes like Chris Mosier and Skylar Baylor and Cece Telfer. Like, there's so many trans athletes that they could talk to. But I think for Chris Mosier, I think he made a post about this. I should not have to defend my experience to people who don't give a damn about me. And I understand that. So for me, that gives room for me to come in and debate for you, because although I'm not a trans athlete, I study this because it affects my community. I study trans issues that affect our community. So that's why for me, some of the things that were asking me, I felt were better to be responded by somebody who is in that athletic field. But Piers' ass can't get nobody over there. So that's why all of a sudden they came over there. Yeah. But truth be told, I mean, think about it, y'all. They had to mute me. Because I'm such a powerhouse and because I have a voice, they had to mute me because they were not ready for what I was bringing. They were not prepared. They thought I was going to be another loud Black woman, and I'm not. I'm petty, but I'm not into that. I was very petty. Now, I can admit I was very petty out there. I was doing all this and whatever like that. I got that from Anna Navarro, by the way, because when she did the filing. Shout out to Anna Navarro on The View, because I love The View. I'm manifesting. I get on The View.
We both want to be on The
View. Sunny Hostin is my birthday twin. Hey, Sunny girl. I've met Whoopi Goldberg before. We've taken a picture before, but that's going to be my next stop, The View. And yours too. We're going to be on The View together. Yeah. But what was I saying? Piers is just a mess. He's a fascist. He's a racist. But the thing about me is I had to look it face to face and face off with it. I'm not scared like that.
And people need to give you flowers for that.
Thank you.
Because it's like people go into situations, especially you're doing it for the first time with truly no support, sometimes not even from your own community, because we don't really have much even to support each other.
Yes.
So there's this pressure cooker feeling that every trans representation needs to be absolutely perfect because of this, that, and the other. Meanwhile, they're still saying and doing all the things when we have been following the rules. Only you and I recently have really stepped out with the podcast in the way that we have, because we saw the need that the conservative side had a podcast and had that energy and all of those parts of the internet that the liberal side wasn't even willing to touch. Like you and I, we understand what it's like to be a blue collar worker. We know what it's like to deal with the economy in the way that it is as an American in this country, and the effects of the tax laws, the effects of the status of us being trans with the healthcare and stuff that we navigate. We have to deal with so much more than the average cis person, which another thing that pissed me off is when Piers Morgan was like, we don't use that language. It's like, of course you don't use that language because you have this idea that the only way to be is your way. And the thing that's so upsetting is me as a trans person, and I feel like you as a trans person, I don't necessarily, do I want Nazis around? No. But if you know what, if there's people that have an ideology that I don't agree with, that they think this, that, and the other, I truly don't care because I want to have mine. Yeah. And I want us to coexist in a safe way. That is all that trans people want to do. Because there's this agenda that where it's like, we're trying to create this and we're trying to do that and we're trying to, it has nothing to do with anything other than I want to exist on this planet as an American in this country and have the same rights to go into the DMV and getting my driver's license, to be able to put a meal on the table for my family, to be able to go on vacations, be able to be with my friends and explore and life, love, pursuit of happiness in the same way that someone that hates me wants to experience the world. It's no different. And the difference between their world and my world is in my world, they still exist. In their world, I don't exist. And
true.
and it's so it's so confusing to me how they can't see that we as a people are, like when we've added pronouns to emails and we're creating more stuff when HR, like when you get hired to a new job and there's a specific transgender training that's on there that the employees have to learn. When, I've been enrolled in a new job recently and there was a trans training and I was like, wow, this is because of the work that is done. And when I go into that workspace, I feel safer. I feel like I just get to be the average American person that everyone else gets to be. And that has always been my personal journey. I just wanted to be an average Joe. The only reason why I got into politics and even social media and all of this stuff is because I felt like I was forced to as a trans person because I didn't see somebody saying the things that I felt and saw. And that's the same way why you got into the activism and do it the way that you do is because you don't see anybody standing up against this horrific rhetoric. It's like we're just standing there like doormats taking it. And I know that I've seen the heart of this community and many communities on the left side has so much fight, so much energy, so much resources. And we have been all convinced to fight each other because of whatever sector that we are in and don't realize that the game has been played, that the Republicans have created this narrative that we can't find commonality because I can find commonality even with the straightest, most problematic man. I can find common ground with him in some way, shape, or form. The answer is, why can't you find common ground and see me as human too?
That was wonderful. And so I think Riley made a video about me. Here's the thing.
Ugh.
So after we made the episode,
That's more the dehumanization.
She went to TikTok, y'all, and she made this video about me. She misgendered me in it because she's a fucking moron. It is what it is.
She's a damn fool, as you like to say.
She's a damn fool. She's a damn fool. And it's funny because she deleted the video, but of course y'all don't play with the screen record button.
Oh, and me, because I will.
Yes,
I'm a research
and I think we have that video, y'all.
Yes,
Let's check out what Miss Riley had to say about
She deleted this video, so
I just did Piers Morgan's show Uncensored, which shout out Piers. I think Piers approaches things very logically, very rationally. We agree on a lot, we disagree on some. But I just did his show in like the debate forum with a trans activist by the name of Blossom, which if you saw any of Michael Knowles' videos that have circulated with the Jubilee debate style forum, I think there was 30 trans activists surrounded by Michael Knowles. They get to raise their red flag if they want in and a chance to debate him. Michael did amazing, by the way. Blossom, the trans activist I just debated on Piers, was the large African-American man who identifies as a woman in some of these clips. That, the past 30-minute debate we just had was the most unhinged, absurd thing I have ever been a part of in my entire life.
Before you jump in,
okay,
because I have one thing I want to say.
Okay.
She wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for trans people. Hold on, wait for the thought. She wouldn't have a career if it wasn't for trans people. Her whole career is going on the internet, crying about fifth place, basically destroying the American Constitution and working with the people to do that because she was too insecure to admit she wasn't a good athlete. And I'm sorry, I grew up as an athlete playing multiple sports. And the only reason why I didn't continue is because I was trans, because I knew I would have to deal with women like her. Because again, we have the whole trans male side of this never being discussed. I used to be able to shoot at half court and I'm blind. I did it without glasses on. I could have gone to the WNBA and had contracts and all of these things. I'm tall. I didn't do any of that because as I went through puberty and dealt with the social ramifications of what it was to be who I am as a big bitch, as some people want to say on the internet, I created a situation for myself to not know where to go in sports, even though I trained, like Blossom, I used to wake up, I had a basketball court in my backyard as a little kid at like 6 years old, and I was that kid. I was going to be a prodigy. People like, at one point, like I was on this team for the city. It was called the Looney Tunes. Shout out to the Looney Tunes. We won the championship, second place.
Oh, shit.
And I was like 2 feet taller than everybody on my team because I'm a big bitch. Let's be real. And navigating people like Riley in sports, people like her would do anything in her possibility to take down people like me, no matter how much. I mean, I trained, like I would wake up at 6 a.m. and shoot basketballs and then go to school and then like carried my basketball all around. And I ended up getting into music because I couldn't be in sports anymore because of people like Riley, because it's not about protecting women. It's about this ideology of like white supremacy, and a woman has to look like Riley in order to be validated. And even a woman looking like Riley can still be invalidated by a man whenever he pleases in the patriarchal system that she is upholding. She's putting herself at risk. Instead of actually empowering all humans, all she's doing is turning and going, oh, white supremacy, here's a check, and completely writing off the backs of trans people. Because realize, if she never, ever, ever competed against a trans person, we wouldn't know her name.
That's interesting.
We wouldn't know her name.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for saying that, Shane. You know, when I look at that video, all I see is someone with low self-esteem, low confidence, insecurity. Because she could not compete with my debate points, she goes to my physical appearance. And I think most conservatives, they always do that where they try to misgender me. They're like, oh, you're a man. Look at that wig on. Because they pull a Blair White tactic. That's a Blair White tactic. And the thing is, my intellect is totally unmatched to their ideology. I think all I see is someone who was just projecting their own insecurities because they could not debate me. When I came through and I gave statistics about the NCAA and the number of athletes and the ratio to that, she had nothing.
Yeah.
Because you went to the White House, you saw Donald Trump sign an executive order for less than 10 trans people.
That now all women are subject to genital testing to the point where women are now in just regular bathrooms. And this was all rhetoric that really did start with Riley Gaines.
Yeah, and that's what I said in the Piers Morgan show.
Yeah.
I said all women are now going to be subjected to these rigorous tests because you didn't took your foolish tail up to the White House with Trump to sign an executive order. It's going to affect you too. And a lot of my viewers noticed that her facial expression changed when I said that because she really did not think about that. And that was a talking point that she could not beat. She could not even touch that. Yeah. And I think this video was a way of projecting because why did you delete it after you made the post?
She doesn't know me.
Because you're low, you have such low self-esteem about yourself.
Yeah.
How dare a trans woman like Leah Thomas beat her in a sports competition? Then you're whining to Donald Trump knowing that in a few short time, Donald Trump is going to start turning his back on people. He's going to start backstabbing. He's notorious for the reputation that he has. Like his old vice president, Mike Pence, don't even deal with him. Yeah. Like Donald Trump is a screw up. He's a natural screw up. And the fact that Riley Gaines aligns herself with that, I mean, birds of a feather flock together, but they don't go anywhere. And all Riley Gaines can do is run to her little Fox News minions, and cry about it. Because literally, in the Piers Morgan interview, Piers Morgan was just like, oh, I didn't think it was right that you were attacked and ganged up on or whatever. What's wrong, Riley? You can't handle it? You can't handle people confronting you?
Meanwhile, she's got the entire conservative side behind her doing and saying.
And who cares about the conservative side?
No.
Like there's business. It's crazy. But that's who she runs behind because the thing is, Riley doesn't have the confidence to stand up for herself, which is why she has to run behind Trump, which is why she has to throw these things at me. Honey, I didn't do anything to you. Your low self-esteem, your low confidence is all on you. I, as a Black trans woman, am divine. I'm confident in who I am. Y'all can talk about my physical looks, but nobody can insult my intellect. And I noticed none of them, from the Blair Whites to the Buck Angels to the Amala Ekpunobis, all of them.
You are
none
never
of them
gonna say
can
her name
insult
right, and I
my
can't.
intelligence. None of them can.
You know she's gonna make another
cannot-
video. She's gonna be like, oh, another video.
Another video to make. They talked about me again. Here we go. None of them can insult my intellect. They always go, well, with the exception of Amala. I don't think Amala has ever talked about my physical looks. So that I can appreciate about Amala.
You know what? Give her a shout out.
I have to give her a shout out for that because I think she's the only one.
I'll give her a shout out for that.
Yeah, she's the only one that doesn't
They do
resort
go to
that.
physical a lot of the times. And anybody knows in a debate, if you're going to physical, you automatically lost.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
lost. I mean, in any
I destroyed
debate,
Blair White in the debate. That was done. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I destroyed Blair White in our debate, which is why, you know, she made a whole video and lied and tried to get ahead on the PR, and all of her people are still coming to me like minions. It's been
in the
over
same
2
way
years.
Riley's
I
even
destroyed
doing
Blair.
that. Even Riley.
And I destroyed Riley Gaines too in the debate. And that's
Michael
just our view
Knowles
over
is
here.
even doing that. Like, all of them are always trying to get ahead of the narrative before the episode even comes out.
Yeah.
Try to spin it so people already have a narrative when they watch it, instead of letting people just
You know what?
watch
That
it and
is
absorb it.
true. Because Michael knows.
Blair
Michael
did
Knowles
it.
did
Michael
that.
did it. Riley's done it.
Ooh, that's true.
And it's like, if you are so strong with your work, why do you have to add that extra, like, let's rile up our followers? Just let your followers
Because they
watch
can't
and
debate
decide for themselves.
Because they can't debate liberals the way that they think they can. And conservatives,
Well, to be
they're
fair,
just booty clappers.
to be fair, and this is why I love your activism and my activism, name a liberal that could stand up to Ben Shapiro the way that I have, because I don't think there is.
None, because people feel like it's a waste of time to do so. And the thing is, we're not here to change people's minds.
Yeah.
We're here to give our talking points and let you be known. We're still not going nowhere.
Yeah, and
And
to
we-
show that we're powerful as well.
Yes.
That we can stand up for ourselves, that we can protect ourselves, that we have the education and nuance to understand what's happening within society as Americans, as trans people, and the nuance of how that all blends together, that we don't have this one issue of you and I are just trans people coming into the space. You and I are Americans that happen to be trans people, that happen to be living within the space that we do, and we learn to navigate it with so much visceral hate, especially from people that are purely, like, to me, it all just feels really grifty. Like,
Oh, yes.
like the Riley, like, just even talking this out right now, it feels like if you talk enough shit about trans people, you're gonna get a platform. And my question is, why does that bother people so much? And I've had theories, and this is where I get into my allegedly zone, because I gotta say allegedly because I'm not trying to get sued.
Oh, yes.
But let's talk about
Cease.
Elon Musk for just a second, but I don't want to do it too long because we know she likes to sue, as Kendrick, did in the Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
Elon right now has a baby mama on Twitter that's a conservative. Twitter something kind of looks like a Blair White kind of somebody similar, just the same. It's all the same.
That's her
body
upper top
doubles.
lip move?
No, I don't know. It just seems like there's a factory of them that are being made.
As long as her upper top lip moves, it's all good.
And
Not saying anything. Not insinuating anything. I just wonder if her upper top lip moves.
basically, Elon is like rejecting any communication about this child, any support or anything that's going on, right? And they've been trying to reach out to him publicly through Twitter because he's just ignoring all of that. Now, Grimes, I'm just make sure I'm going to add an allegedly every time because I'm not getting sued. But Grimes, listen, we got to keep it on air.
Yes, we do.
Grimes is now reaching out publicly saying, hey, your kid is having a medical emergency. You need to reach out to me. I need to speak to you. And meanwhile, he's like got a chainsaw with glasses on, allegedly on ketamine at the CPAC thing, and doing all of this like God knows what stuff on stage, and people just keep going, yay, Elon. Meanwhile, it's like this is somebody who's allegedly saying something about traditional values and family and all of these things. And it's like, I look at his life and I look at my life, I go, wait a second. I've been with the same woman for 20 years. I practice if you were to look at my life and just put it against to what a Christian ideology is, I match them all. Every single one of them, except for I'm trans. That's it. Like, I help my fellow man. I help my neighbor. I do my part to society. I contribute, like all of those things, but I'm just trans. So somehow that makes me the devil. Meanwhile, you've got a man who has multiple baby mamas, is not even taking care of his kids, using his kid as a prop on his shoulder so he doesn't get shot, because it's like, what are we doing there? Allegedly. Let me add an allegedly there.
Yeah.
at the same time, I found this. I've been always so curious about Elon Musk because he's got all this money. I'm like, what is his interest in trans people?
I think because his child came out as trans that he has this whole hatred thing. And I also think Elon Musk is blackmailing Donald Trump. I don't know about what. I don't know about who.
Yeah.
I truly believe that he is blackmailing Donald Trump because when I saw that video of Elon and his son in the office with Donald Trump and Elon's son telling Donald Trump, you are not the president and shut up or whatnot. Clearly that's something that Elon talks about when
I don't
Donald's
agree
not
with
around.
Trump, right? But the optics of that as an American to see the Resolute desk be put into that position, that is so un-American on so many levels.
Well, Elon is not from America. That's the thing. He's an immigrant. And ironically, they're trying to deport all these immigrants from the country. And it's like Donald Trump's wife needs to go because she's an immigrant. Elon Musk needs to go because he's an immigrant. So, I mean, like,
it doesn't
the oxymoron of it all, like the contradictory of it all. You know what I mean?
But what's his obsession with trans people?
I really genuinely think because his child came out as trans, he's never been able to get over it. And like Laverne Cox said, they're focusing on the wrong 1% of the population. They should be focusing on these billionaires. And like Laverne said, trans people are not the reason why your eggs are high, your gas is high, why groceries are so high. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not the reason. But I think that they're trying to steamroll and gaslight and smokescreen this whole trans issue.
Yeah.
And trying to make it seem like we're such a problem to the American people because they're doing a lot of things behind the scenes that they're going to eventually get caught. And we as trans people, we know we're resilient, but we're also tired. It's exhausting. Yeah. It's tired. And we have to make space for that.
We've got a billionaire who, again, I'm going to say this, I'm going to add the allegedlys there, but like, from what I understand, also, there's more trans lore to Elon, is, I guess, Chelsea Manning, which is like the whistleblower from a little while ago, ended up taking Grimes from Elon. So
Grimes is Elon's child, right?
No. Grimes is Elon's ex. And you know the kid that said the thing at the desk?
Okay.
That's their kid.
Oh.
Right?
So Chelsea's with her?
So my thing is like, I think people are not realizing that this is a man who is a bitter ex with a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot. Like imagine your worst ex that you could ever think of has so much money. It is unfathomable. They can change the entire way the world works because of the influence that it comes with. And that's where I think the focus of trans comes. I think that because he got his heart broken because a trans woman took his girl. And not only that, allegedly, I'm going to add that allegedly, his daughter is trans. The combination of those two things, instead of him actually maturely processing what was going on in his life, he's acting like a giant man-child. And because he has all this money to support his behavior, and he's got sycophants and people that need money in their pockets too, it's now created this, like you said, birds of a feather with Riley Gaines, and they all kind of like worked together. And it's like, you had to get all of these people together to try to take apart the heart of America and what it means to be an American, because this is not what it means to be an American. To be an American means to support one another, to innovate, to create, to support. Like, there's so many layers to being an American. It's not about creating this hate narrative and taking down trans people. And like, you can look at the history of the Nazis in 1933 and the book burning of Magnus Hirschfeld, and that was the first book burning, was trans books. And it's all parallel to today. And we've got someone who's got an immense amount of money. And I really wish Elon Musk would stop doing what he's doing and work on whatever his personal stuff is, and stop attacking trans people in the way that he is. Whatever's going on with his kid or whatever is going on with his ex-partner is not my community's responsibility, because he doesn't have the maturity to understand that his situation didn't go right for him because he didn't navigate it right. And it just feels like this big projection of this person who's like this angry ex doing everything they can to hurt the people that he used to say, I love you to.
Yeah, but let's remember, we as a trans community are strong. We're powerful. We can withstand anything. It's interesting how people love to bring us up in conversation, especially when we're not in the room. because it's always an easy flex for other people when they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I think, and I also need to address this because these trans conservatives are also getting on my nerves these days because during the whole debate, they're just like, y'all make trans people look bad. First of all, anybody who goes on a Jubilee debate is freaking powerful because it's a lot. You really don't know what you're walking into. And so I think trans conservatives, some of our trans sisters who want to be conservative, which is why I don't understand. That's a whole oxymoron, but that's your prerogative. If you want to be miserable in that, that's your business, no judgment. Because not all trans conservatives are bad. There are some that want to, that are more moderate, that want to reach across the aisle.
Yeah.
If you can't go on a Jubilee debate and go on there yourself and debate, you have no room to criticize the trans girls that go on there. Instead, why don't you look at your sisters, hit them up and say, first of all, are you okay? And then give your opinion or your view. I can understand that. Some of y'all just want to be loud, obnoxious, and rude and ignorant just because you can. I got tagged in a post by this trans woman, and she's beautiful. She's an OnlyFans girl, and there's nothing wrong with that. And she was just going on a rant talking about y'all made our community look bad. Stop going on Jubilee, making them look bad, da-da-da-da-da. Well, girl, first of all, like I said, get information before you post. You know nothing about the why. Optics to me are an illusion because you don't know the why. If you're not asking the why when you're looking at an optic, you're not getting the full story. And I think a lot of these girls look at these Jubilee videos and they're so quick to have an opinion, but you don't ever do research. You just want your followers. You want to make your little content, get your little followers up, and you sound stupid in my view when you do that. I don't have to answer to anybody on the why I go on these certain platforms. I don't have to. I choose to. And I'm going to continue to do it because a lot of y'all that are criticizing can't do what I do. And I think we need to waken up that talking point for real. When you see us going against Ben Shapiro and Riley Gaines and Piers Morgan and all these people, one, yes, is to build exposure as trans people because let's be clear, we're under a Trump administration and trans voices are now more crucial more than ever. So us going on these platforms is so important because our visibility needs to still be above water because Trump is trying to tank it, obviously. So don't get mad at us. Get mad at the game that has been played and that has been put into place that's trying to separate you and I when there should not be a separation. I am not going to apologize for going on camera and being me. Y'all accuse me of being emotionally charged. I'm just emotionally passionate because I'm an empathetic person and I care.
What do you expect?
I've always been like that
when this is happening.
I've always been like that, but the only problem is I don't conform to optics. And the thing is, I'm a very passionate person. Y'all have not seen me be emotionally charged yet. I think the CNN protest was probably the most emotionally charged I was. I think I really was emotionally charged. And I'm nothing like that. I'm just very passionate. And you're not going to disrespect me. Because the thing is, I know who I am and I'm confident in what I exuberate. Y'all always say, oh, you didn't bring anything good to the table. Y'all don't understand what I'm saying because you don't have the intellectual capacity to understand what I'm saying. Pierce and Riley did not have the intellectual capacity to understand that Black women cannot be racist to white women. Yeah. So if you can't understand that basic truth, then I'm sorry. We can't have a conversation. I'm sorry. Why waste my time? And I think a lot of y'all are just upset and y'all just want to be keyboard bullies. But the thing is, you can't bully me. I love doing this work. I want to continue going on more of these platforms. And I'm going to make it happen. The View, I'm coming for you on ABC. And Good Morning America, I'm coming for all cable morning news shows. What's up? Riley Gaines is on Fox News, booty clapping over there, talking about me making these videos. Why can't I go on the more liberal ones? MSNBC, hello? How you doing? Roland Martin, how you doing?
Truly. And you know what? I want to call out Joe Rogan. How you doing? Call me in.
By the way, he got dethroned as the #1 podcast by a liberal. I want to go on the Midas Touch.
Yeah, Midas Touch. Shout us out, please. Please, Midas Touch. We want to be on you. So
I want to download their podcast. I actually want to download it and listen to their content.
They are so good, and they get the news like the way that Twitter used to get the news before Elon bought it because I used to use Twitter too to get like what's happening in the street and stuff like that. And you used to be able to just like jump right on Twitter and you would know exactly what was happening. And now it's like, it's a useless platform, honestly.
Yeah.
It doesn't do any of that for me. I've shifted towards TikTok, which even after the TikTok has come back, there's definitely a shift in the algorithm.
Yeah.
It's not the same. We're not seeing UFOs, protests, or any of the stuff that we used to see. I haven't seen a Cat Williams or a Jaguar Wright video in the longest time. And even though Jaguar Wright just recently accepted something from Trump, I don't know, that's a little interesting there too. I don't know if you saw that.
God.
But
but she was on Piers too, so I guess we're like in the same.
It's all this,
boat.
yeah. Conversations are cumulative, and I think it's important to invite you to the table because for so many years, our liberal folks and our left side has always had this buttoned up approach to the point where now the right knows that that's how we move, and they are navigating going, oh, well, they're not going to do anything if we do this. They're not going to do anything if we do this. And it's time for us to stand up for America in the way that we have all felt that we need to stand up. And you and I do inspire. I mean, I got so many messages, and I saw that one message. I'm a 16-year-old trans girl.
Yeah.
Blossom, thank you so much. And it's like, as much hate as I have received and as you've received, the fact that I'm getting messages from young trans folks saying, during this administration, you made me laugh. You made me feel hope. You made me feel I mean, there are people that tell me that they put on my Ben Shapiro thing and just listen to it as like a morning mantra.
That's beautiful.
And like that right there, that impact will create more conversations and more people to be inspired to stand up for themselves. And they may even make a bigger impact than us, and we can be a jump off point for them to understand that we cannot live in this world and not protect what we love. Our country is literally under attack right now, being ripped
because
apart
of Trump,
because of Curtis Yarvin's, yes, I know all of the, listen, I've been through every red pill thing. That's the difference between my style of activism too. And we went and looked at what's going on outside of our silos, and we're trying to navigate the conversation in a way. Like I want to really help a lot of these red pill men, to be frank, honest with you, like, because with the violence that goes on in society, there is a lot of stuff that goes on that created these cracks for these guys to fall through. And then all of these red pill pipelines came and scooped them up. I would love to teach cis men how to treat women as a trans man.
You better get paid for it.
Oh, I will. I will.
Not doing free labor.
I will, but I would
ain't no free labor going out over here.
In a way that genuinely helps society as a whole. Like if everybody's looking at the birth rate this, the birth rate that, if you're continuously putting violence on women throughout the entire world, I mean, the birth rate issue is an issue.
It is, especially for Black women.
Like even in America too, on top of it, did you know that we have the lowest, like we're in, I think it's like 52 percentile in terms of mothers surviving after pregnancy. And then we've got abortion. It's like, this is not the way to go to gain a population. And I don't understand what businessman is looking at how humans work and going, hey, let's put a bunch of restrictions and control women and all of this stuff, and somehow kids are going to come out. Because what you're going to end up with is a population of people that are more likely to be criminals, murderers, and violent, because a lot of those kids that were born before abortion, the statistics of violence, rape, all of those things have gone down because the kids that women were having were kids that they wanted to have. They weren't being forced to have those kids. And then that kid has to live with that mom or dad that doesn't care for them, which then creates a kid that grows up in society and then creates more violence and destruction because no one actually supports. It's like, I genuinely want to help these red pill guys. I want to help, honestly, like humanity as a whole. And I feel that trans people, because we represent bodily autonomy in the way that we do and have the power to choose, it's why that Trump wanted to sign a law against 10 people, because trans people are such a threat to the idea of the control that has been used on society for years and years and years.
Wait, the comment section.
Oh, no.
I know they're all mad in the comment section. I can smell y'all. I can smell the low self-esteem there. And our supporters, if you're a supporter, we love you so much. Thank you so much for always supporting us. But the conservative haters that have come to troll us, I can smell your low self-esteem. It smells like diarrhea, and it's disgusting.
And thank you for the metrics, by the way, because even the hate comments, we get paid on all of it. I mean.
And on that note, before we get out of here, remember, do not interrupt a Black trans woman when she's speaking. And on that note, y'all, we're going to get ready to wrap it up here. I want to say thank you so much to my wonderful co-host.
Thank you, Blossom,
for always being magnificent. I love you so much, Shane. You are my best friend. I love you dearly. You are always a white trans man who always uses his privilege, his access to help other people of color. And I'm so grateful for the work that you do. It's not easy work. Keep giving them hell. I love your wife, Nicole. She's amazing. Like, y'all have been such a big influence in my life. And I just want to give you your flowers and just say, thank you so much. You mean the world to me. Don't say a word. Sit with it, receive it, because I'm going to exit us out of here. Thank you so much, y'all, for watching. Make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, because I think we forgot to set it at the top of the show. So that way you know when we're posting new videos. And there it is. Take a little time to enjoy the Transparency Podcast Show. We'll see you next time.